Don't just live for tomorrow, or just live in yesterday. Just be glad for all you have that's in today.
Hey everyone, Connie here, and welcome to my blind reaction to the Owl House episode 2. So yeah, we're here with episode 2 this week, and I'm interested to see where this goes. Like I said in my first episode reaction and afterthoughts and all that, it wasn't amazing or anything like really special. It was good, but I think I compared it to the first episode of Star Versus, where it's like it was good, I enjoyed it, but this show's got to do more. It's got to do more than this to actually impress, to actually be something special. Excuse me. Now, mind you, it was much better than Amphibia. Even Amphibia's first episode, which was probably one of the better ones that I saw. But still, it needs to step it up, I feel, going forward. And there's a lot of room to do so. I mean, Luz is going to be training to be a witch under, I don't remember her name, the witch woman, the owl witch. We also have King, who is the friend and roommate of the witch, who is this little like Cubone looking motherfucker, who has these delusions of grandeur. And we have this like prison warden dude and his guards. I was trying to think of the word and I couldn't for some reason. Those are the only characters like we've got so far. So I wonder where we're gonna get more. Now the outro does kind of imply there's gonna be some kind of like school, and people have like said, "Oh, this looks like it's gonna be like Harry Potter like," and it's like, okay, that could be interesting. I have no idea where that's going. We'll definitely have to see on that, because it just doesn't seem like this witch would have an entire school of pupils. She just doesn't seem like the mentor type. So I almost feel like Luz would be like the first person she would mentor. I don't know. But we also have the aspect of the fact that she's supposed to be at summer camp. But she's not. And as I mentioned last time, the camp will realize she's not there and will contact her mother. Her mother will find out that she's not at summer camp. She's still in contact with her mother. She can still reach her with the cell phone. Her mother's going to freak out. At least that's what should happen. And if it doesn't, honestly, it's not only just going to be a big missed opportunity, it's going to be a big plot hole. Because there's no logical way that the summer camp wouldn't call her. Luz is signed up for this summer camp. Luz did not show up. They're going to call. They're going to find out where she is, why she didn't show up. That is how it would work. So I'm really expecting something to happen with that. It doesn't have to happen necessarily right away, although the earlier the better, just because it's like, you know, the camp would call right away. But still, it does need to happen. And Luz as a character is very interesting. She's free-spirited, she's witty, she's kind of ridiculous. And with her character and with the show's theming, it seems to be heavily going towards this weird is okay message. This message that it's okay to be weird, it's okay to be a little strange, a little different, that you don't need to follow the status quo and do what other people expect of you, that you should live your life the way that makes you happy, basically, which is a great message. The problem is, and I believe I did state this in the first episode reaction as well, Luz was not just being a free spirit. She was not just being a she was not just being weird. That wasn't even the issue. It was that she was being disruptive. Her antics were dangerous. The snakes, I mean, that's, yeah, even if they're not poisonous, that's still not okay to let snakes loose in a school. She was not doing her work and her just homework or schoolwork, all that jazz. She wasn't doing that properly. She wasn't taking anything seriously. It's like, it's okay to be a free spirit. It's okay to be weird. It's okay to, as one of the things was pointed out in the first episode, it's okay to put music to clips of anime. But you have to, if you're in school, you have to take it seriously. Even if the schooling system is shit, even if they're trying to teach you things that you'll never use, you still have to take it seriously. You still have to get through it. And you have to, well, be smart about it. Luz was being disruptive. To just kind of cover all the bases, she was being disruptive. And weird or not, that's not okay. That's a legitimate issue to be brought up. So I'm hoping that throughout the series, Luz grows and matures a bit. I don't want her to lose her weirdness. I don't want her to lose that charm and that quality of character that she has. Because she's definitely a very good person. Like, we saw that with the other prisoners, with how she reacted to them and everything. She's a very good person, but she definitely has to mature a little in order to, like, well, grow. And character growth is important to any show. People have compared this to Gravity Falls. Dipper and Mabel definitely grew. Oh yeah. Mabel matured greatly throughout the series, from going from weird as fuck. In fact, Mabel's actually an amazing example. Mabel is weird as fuck. Let's be honest. She's weird, she's ridiculous, she's goofy as hell. Yet throughout the series, throughout Gravity Falls, she did mature. And one of the big aspects she matured in was the acceptance of growing up. That was a huge plot point for her. And then you have Dipper, who matured more in the way of understanding how things worked and understanding relationships with others. Because relationships with others was definitely Dipper's big thing. Whether it be his relationship with Wendy, with Grunkle Stan, with Mabel herself. He grew in his relationships in ways that allowed him to understand how to handle things better, how to just be there for people in a more important, bigger way, stuff like that. And it's just like, I want to see that with Luz. And maybe with some of the other characters as well. Now, here's the question. Do we want to see other human characters show up? And I'm not sure. I feel like having other human characters show up, especially if it happened too soon, it would kind of cheapen the overall, like, effect, I guess you could say, for lack of a better word, the overall effect of having Luz be the only human in the Boiling Isles, or whatever it's called. Her being the only human here, and having to interact with all these different creatures and stuff is, well, it's fascinating. And it lends itself well to a really unique and interesting just set of interactions and set of characters. We can have so many unique and interesting characters this way. If they just keep bringing in more humans, it's going to cheapen and lessen the impact of it. Now, I'm not saying they can't have other humans at all. In fact, I think it would actually be pretty interesting to have it eventually to where one or more other humans come in kind of the same way, just kind of accidentally stumble in. Um, and there's two ways I think this could be done. One, have it be Luz's mother. Having her stumble into this while like maybe trying to find Luz would be actually really fascinating and a cool idea. And she has to try, and this helps her kind of come to terms with Luz's weirdness and free spirit while also discovering her own that she had lost after growing up. Because it's very clear that she's a very straight-laced by the book type of person, that she is very like on the mindset that like you have to grow up and become a mature adult. So it's like that would be a really actually fantastic plot point to bring in. Have her freaking out over Luz, like have it like be this way. She finds out Luz didn't go to summer camp. She starts trying to contact Luz. Luz kind of freaks out about it a bit and doesn't reply. She doesn't reply to any text. She doesn't call back. Maybe even just straight up turns off her phone. So Luz's mother is like freaking out trying to find her because she's her mother. She loves her. She's scared. She wants her to be safe. So she's trying to find her and she accidentally somehow stumbles into the Boiling Isles. She ends up finding Luz, but along the way, through meeting all these creatures, through discovering all this fantastical stuff, she starts to understand her daughter a little more. And by the time she does find her, she realizes what she herself had been missing and what her daughter had truly been experiencing. And they agree to work together to kind of find a happy balance between being weird and being responsible. And I think that would actually be an exceptionally mature and strong message to teach. Because it's not mature to teach an entirely straight-laced message. It's actually not. But teaching a message where it's like, oh, you can be yourself, have your fun, and just revel in that, but you also have to have some level of maturity. You have to have some level of responsibility to be able to survive in this world. That would be a great message. It would have that balance, that both sides mentality that in this situation actually does work. And with the entire thing with the summer camp in general, it would also help with that entire plot point, making it feel naturally handled and like coming to a valid conclusion and everything. It would just work on pretty much all levels. The only other way I think it could work is maybe have it found out like there's been another human here all along that has been in disguise as some kind of creature. And especially if it's like a creature that we knew, have it be like we find out that they are really a disguised human this entire time. And this would happen later on, of course. And Luz eventually finds out about this. And it leads to some big storyline as to finding out who they are, why they're here, and why they're pretending to be something they're not. And the pretending to be something they're not thing also ties into Luz's kind of ideologies. That would be the only other way to kind of bring another human into here and make it feel, in my opinion, really natural. But honestly, the first option with her mother would be the best possible outcome. Easily. Excuse me. But for this episode, I don't know anything going into it as usual. Because honestly, I haven't heard people talking about this much at all. Um, like I saw a couple things for the first episode, but it's like it's just not getting that traction yet. And on one level it's a little disappointing, but on another it's like it's good because that means obviously I don't have to worry as much about getting spoiled. Um, but it's always disappointing when a show doesn't really get that attention and everything because it usually means it's not doing well, it's not popular, or people just don't care enough about it to talk about it. Either way, it could end up hurting the show in the long run. And I hope that the show doesn't end up being good and then just ends up being canceled because no one actually pays attention to it. That would suck. But either way, we're going to get this going and hope for the best. So when the screen fades to black, pause this redirect and go to the description below. Follow the link to the reaction, and after you watch it, come back here to the redirect and resume play. Because after it fades to black and then fades back in, everything from that point forward will be my afterthoughts and will contain spoilers to the episode. So that being said, thank you so much for tuning in, and I will see you at the reaction. And we are back, and we'll begin with spoilers in 3, 2, 1, now. So, the first episode of a show, the entire purpose of the first episode is to hook the viewer in. It is to grab their attention and not let go. Basically, you want to make sure the viewers are invested in your characters, your world, your story, everything you're trying to show and tell with the show, in this case, that you've created. And I feel the first episode definitely got me interested, but like I had said before, it didn't hook me in as much as I wanted it to. And I think that was probably my own expectations. Like, with all the hype surrounding this, with all of the little clips I had seen prior, the trailers, everything got me so hyped up for this that I was let down just by proxy because I was just so hyped that it didn't live up to what I was hoping for, what I was expecting. So the first episode, it's like, it was good and I enjoyed it, but it wasn't as good as I wanted it to be, and it kind of, because of that, tempered my feelings on the show. It tempered my expectations for what the show was going to be. And that was a good thing. Because this episode was phenomenal. This was great in every possible way. Let's start with the obvious, the big thing it did at the end. It turned the Chosen One prophecy plot device on its head. So many shows, books, games, yada, 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 use the Chosen One prophecy plot point. Big example would be Harry Potter. Basically, it's where the main character, or a main character at least, is the chosen one. The one who's prophesied to come and save the day and defeat the great evil and, like, bring balance to the world, bring balance to the force, whatever have you. And I have no necessary problem with it. I don't necessarily have a problem with the Chosen One prophecy thing. It's done well in Harry Potter. It's done well in Star Wars, stuff like that. But it is very much a crutch that a lot of media tends to rely on. And it does make a lot of times your main character seem like a Mary Sue, a Gary Stu, basically just overpowered. Because they're prophesied to win. There's not as much tension when there's a prophecy for them to win, when they're the chosen one. It takes away from the tension, it takes away from a lot of the just overall feeling of the series and of the battles and the various encounters. Harry Potter did this well because there was still that tension, because Harry almost died many times, and in fact, he kind of died at the end. Um, it's well beyond the point of worrying about spoilers. So he kind of died when he got hit by the killing curse at the end, even though it was technically just the last Horcrux that died that was in him. But he kind of died, and it gave us a scare for a little bit at least. Um, but we knew that he would end up surviving somehow and defeat Voldemort because, that's just how it goes. And that's the thing. We knew that was going to happen no matter what. Even if we got a little scared for a moment, that's just what's going to happen. But this one turns it on its head, basically saying that the entire chosen one idea is it's dumb. It's a shortcut. It's not real. It's something that we can't rely on to grow and to better ourselves and to become what we want to be. We have to make that change in ourselves. We have to go through that growth ourselves. We can't rely on some mystical prophecy. We can't rely on some outside force to push us in the right direction. We have to take those steps. And I love that. It's a great message, because even ignoring obviously the mystical chosen one prophecy aspect of it all, it's like in reality, we can't expect everything to just go our way and to go right. We have to make those choices. We have to take those steps. We have to be the change we want to see. If we want to see the world be a better place, we have to make it better. If we want our lives to go right, if we want our lives to go the way we want them to, we have to work to make that a reality. We can't just rely on some outside force. We can't rely on destiny or whatnot. We can't rely on all of this other stuff to bring us to where we need to be. And I think that's important. It's important for a lot of people to see that we have to do this ourselves. And we can have others along to help us. That's perfectly fine. And this by no means dissuades that idea. Because, hell, Ida and King were here to help Luz. Even though King didn't do much, but still. They were here to help Luz, and they're going to continue to do so. And I think that's great, that it does show that sometimes we do need help. We do need other people in our lives to help us accomplish these goals, to make these changes, to go through this growth. We can't always do it alone. So I really, really love how they did that. Not only did they just turn the Chosen One prophecy on its head, but they also gave a valuable moral lesson for the viewers that can resonate with not just kids, everyone. And I love it when a show's messages and morals does that, when it resonates with everyone. Because so many shows are doing it now. So many modern day cartoons. And this is why animation, let's be honest, is in a renaissance. We are in an animation renaissance like no other. Animation is at its best. And while not every show is great, and while not every show stays great, Starverses, or Steven Universe even, though I don't know how Steven Universe future is, we will get to that eventually. While not every show is great, while not every show stays great, we can't deny that in general, the shows, the cartoons and whatnot nowadays, the animation, whether in the West or even in the East, in Japan and stuff with anime, the animation nowadays is leagues better than it's ever been. You may hold fond memories of stuff like Powerpuff Girls or Tom and Jerry or Looney Tunes, and those shows are fine. But they don't have as much depth, as much character, as much heart, as much moral messaging and theming as today's shows have. And again, not every show does it right. Not every show is the best with it. But the shows nowadays are trying to do something more and trying to appeal to more than just a child audience. Because let's be honest, the creators of these shows now know these days that more than just kids watch cartoons. Hell, that's why some of them are creating these shows. Darren Nefsey, Alex Hirsch, they're fans of animation. They're creating these shows because they love animation and they want to be a part of this. And it's great to see that because you see the passion come through. And we see that in this episode. The imaginative creativity, which was there in the first episode, can't deny that. But it was definitely on full force this one. We saw a lot of imaginative creativity. We definitely saw, again, the great theming and breaking down of tired old tropes. We saw some really horrifically frightening imagery, which I always love seeing. Like, I've talked about this before, I love seeing horror stuff in cartoons, because it's usually done really well, or if it's not, it's at least appealing enough. Big examples, of course, Abracadabra from Powerpuff Girls. Holy shit, that was scary when growing up. Courage the Cowardly Dog in general is great with that. Jack in the Haunted House from Samurai Jack. That was a phenomenal episode. This just did it so well as well. And it wasn't like a horror-themed episode, but it had some of that horrific imagery with the creature and everything. That it was with Adagast, that's his name. That it was just really, really well done. And by the way, speaking of Adagast, he was apparently voiced by, let me see if I get this right. Yes, Robin Atkin Downes. So a pretty well-known big name in the voice acting industry. But Nevereth, who is the Sasuke, have to avenge my clan kind of guy, who gave Luz his shirt as a cape and everything. He was voiced by Billy Kametz, aka Josuke Higashikata from JoJo's Bizarre Adventure Diamond is Unbreakable. My favorite JoJo is in this series. And granted, it's a one-time character who wasn't even a real character. He was just like a branch off of Adagast. But still, that's pretty fantastic. I didn't even realize. I'm going to have to go back and listen to his voice again and see if I can hear it. I just find that really funny. Like, I was looking at the credits, like, in between, because I wanted to see who did some of these voices. And yeah, I saw that right away. It's like, oh my gosh, I know it's Billy Kametz. That's fantastic. I love that. But yeah, so and during the point where it shows the credits, it also shows like Luz in that school with the other characters, and yeah, they're not human. You can see the pointed ears and everything like Ida has, and like Adagast had, and everything. Well, pretty much every humanoid person in the Boiling Isles. And yeah, so whenever they do come in, we know they're not human. So yeah, the hope is still alive for what I had said in my pre-thoughts about how other humans could be introduced to this world, especially if Luz's mom, which we didn't get an update on in this episode. So I do hope that they get back to that soon. Now, as for messaging and stuff, there was another good message at the end here. With Ida. Basically the message that things may look bad, but if you view it from a different perspective, it can be beautiful. And I love that message too. I don't think it resonates as strongly because it was just kind of thrown in at the end, I feel, in terms of this episode. But it's a good message. It's almost like don't judge a book by its cover. But at the same time, it's a little different too, because it's basically going on the idea that things are bad, can look bad. Again, things can look bad, things can be scary or gross or upsetting. But if you look at it from a different perspective, if you just change your point of view, you'll see another side to it that you never thought of before. And again, it kind of goes in line with the don't judge a book by its cover. They kind of can go hand in hand. In this case, it was referring to the Boiling Isles themselves, but it can definitely apply to people. Like this person you see maybe all the time might look gross and weird and creepy and everything. But once you get to know them, you might find out that seeing them from a different perspective, they're actually one of the best friends you could ever have. Something like that. So it's a good message. I just feel like it could have been its own episode, really. I don't think it needed to be in this one. Even though the entire thing of seeing things from another perspective kind of really fit with the illusions that Luz was seeing. So yeah. Now, some people might say that this was a little too predictable, like it was obvious the wizard was going to be bad news, it was obvious Luz was going to get herself in trouble, and in the end, she was going to see through it and get out of things, and yeah, it was. But I've said it before, and I'll say it again, predictability is not necessarily a bad thing. People often view predictability and like when reviewing a show or just talking about a show in general, often like to act like it's inherently bad. That if a show's predictable and doesn't leave you guessing at what's going to happen, then it's automatically bad and just not worth watching. And that couldn't be further from the truth. Predictability isn't inherently bad or good. Can it be bad or good? Yes, but it isn't inherently one way or the other. It depends on how it's used. In this situation, the predictability was necessary. It was supposed to be obvious to everyone but Luz. Because Luz was so lost in this idea of a great fantasy adventure, I made the joke that like I'm the main character in an anime, and it's like that's kind of what she wants. She sees this magical, mystical fantasy world, and she's reminded of the stuff she loves. Anime, these books, comics, whatever. And she wants to be a part of that. She wants to be like the hero she admires. And I mean, to a degree, don't we all? So, yeah, she's going to be tricked by this. And honestly, she's seeing illusions. What she's seeing isn't even there. So on top of that, it's like, yeah, she's definitely being tricked, and it's definitely obvious where things are going. But it's more about what actually happens than rather the mystery of it all. It doesn't need to be a mystery. It doesn't need to like leave you guessing. It's predictable, but that's kind of the point. That this was something that was obvious that Luz should have been able to see through, but she couldn't because of her own dreams and desires. And that she's going to learn and grow from this experience. And that she won't necessarily take things at face value anymore. That's kind of the point. So yeah. It's like, I feel like it really handled things well with this episode. It was much more entertaining on a base level, and it did so much more to help this series really grow into its own than the first episode did. I mean, granted, it was only the first episode, so to be fair. Oh, excuse me. I mean, like, I even gave Amphibia a couple episodes, and yeah, it just didn't work out for me with that one. But this one definitely seems to be going in the right direction. Yeah, I can't wait for episode 3. That's gonna be a blast. But in the meantime, tell me in the comments below what you thought of this episode of The Owl House. And thank you so much for tuning in. For now, I'm Connie, and I'm signing off. See y'all next time.